Good evening and welcome to For the Record. 3 days from now begins what could very possibly be the most significant state visit by any Prime Minister to Fiji in our recent history. The Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, will be in Fiji on Wednesday, the 19th of November, and will be holding a series of meetings. Now, the fact that Mr. Modi is coming to Fiji himself is quite significant in itself. And to talk more about the visit, the significance of it, and the benefits of it, we have with us in studio tonight Fiji's High Commissioner to India, Mr. Yogesh Karan. Mr. Karan, thank you very much for making time for this interview. As I've been suggesting, this is quite significant, the fact that the leader of the largest democratic nation in the world, the Prime Minister of India, Mr. Narendra Modi, is coming to our part of the world. He's going to be meeting our leaders. What does this mean for Fiji on a global scale?
Well, thank you, Edwin, for inviting me. Prime Minister's visit, as you know, it's after a very long time. The last Prime Minister visited Fiji was in 1981, the late Indira Gandhi. And it's been 34 years rather, that this visit is happening. So it's very significant, and at this time, the Prime Minister of India is one of the most sought leaders in the world. There are many invites for him from the rest of the world to visit these countries, but Fiji is very fortunate and very privileged to be able to receive the Honorable Prime Minister. The number of benefits that I see out of this visit, one is that public diplomacy. There is a very strong media coming with the delegation, both the government side and the private. And I've already seen in New Delhi. I've spoken to a few of the TV channels, and I was also invited to speak on one of the channels. So the publicity for Fiji is enormous. And if I can just give you one example, advertising in India is very expensive. For example, one page ad per day is about 185,000 Fijian dollars, let alone the expenses if you wanted to use the TV. So Fiji has been shown almost every 1 hour for the last 2 weeks that I have since this visit has become official, and we are getting lots of publicity, and this is very important for Fiji, because in Fiji almost everyone I think knows where India is and what India is all about, but in India it's not the case. Sometimes I get asked questions in forums, in seminars or so, that where is Fiji? Is Fiji in the Caribbean, in Africa? So obviously we need to do a lot of marketing there, in India. And out of this visit, as I see, because the media is so strong, Fiji will be positioned very well, not only in India but the rest of the world.
What would you say? You work in India. You are based in New Delhi. What would you say convinced Mr. Narendra Modi to accept the invitation?
Well, G20 is in progress at the moment, and this visit, I think, worked very well with the Prime Minister's schedule to bring him out to a small nation like ours. And I think, as I said earlier on, that it's a very privileged moment for us that we could fit this visit in his schedule.
Apart from the exposure that we're getting in India, of course, one of the greatest economies right now on a global scale, apart from the exposure there, do you see a ripple effect around the world because of Mr. Modi's popularity or prominence on a political scale around the world?
Yes, if you see the international media is also very much following the Honorable Prime Minister. His recent visits to the United States, to Bhutan, and to Australia, already there are news, international news. And in those news, if you see both Britain and on TV, says after this visit, the Honorable Prime Minister is going to Fiji. So the mileage we are getting out of this visit, it's a very good one. And this visit of the Prime Minister is the longest that since he's been appointed Prime Minister. It's a 9-day visit, and he's visiting 3 countries. So in each of the countries, the local media and the international media has been part of the entourage. And I'm very sure that it's going to give a good mileage over here as well.
Back in Fiji now, we're 3 days away from his arrival. What's going on behind the scenes?
Edwin, as you can see, that there's a lot of work being put in by all stakeholders, and it's a great team that's working behind this visit. Already, you may have noticed that there are big banners being put out right from the Nussuri airport to here. As I was driving past, I could see that roads are being cleaned, footpaths washed, and so on. So apart from these arrangements, to beautify the place, there has been a lot of consultations. There have been a lot of discussions that has gone in terms of getting the program agreed, and we're looking forward for a very intensive day.
What sort of diplomatic and foreign policy or the ministry itself, what sort of preparations are you putting in place to receive the delegation?
The Prime Minister arrives in Nadi and then travels to Nussuri by his own jet, and there's a very strong government delegation, ministers, and few selected dignitaries that will receive the Prime Minister, including the Indian team. And from there, it's the first address is at the Albert Park, which we have invited the public to come and witness.
Of course, this brings us back to how we started discussions about this trip. The last Prime Minister visited us, Prime Minister from India, the late Mrs. Gandhi, arrived in 1981. And there too, we had a similar sort of scene where she met with Fijians, also at Albert Park. So this is a sort of history repeating itself, one would say.
Yes, it is. It's taken so long, but it's really happening, and there's a lot of curiosity that I see, a lot of questions being asked to me by my friends, by professionals, and so about this visit. So we're expecting a very large crowd on this day, and of course there are VIPs. It's all planned, and invitations are being sent. So we're expecting that the total crowd will be more than 10,000.
On that note, we'll come back to that one quickly, but for now we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to For the Record. We're talking about the impending visit of the Indian Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, to Fiji 3 days from now. In studio with us for discussions is our High Commissioner to India, Mr. Yogesh Karan. Mr. Karan, before the break, you mentioned you're expecting something like 10,000 people at Albert Park. Obviously, this would largely be Fijians who are interested in meeting with the Prime Minister of India. But apart from the Prime Minister himself, what sort of a delegation is he bringing along?
Well, the numbers are pretty big. The delegation I'm looking at perhaps is more than 60 members with him. And straight after that, of course, there is all planned programs which will happen. So on that note, we have 2 VIP sitting arrangements. One would be our own, and others we have some Pacific Island leaders that will be here, and other officials. So then we have diplomats, foreign diplomats, and this will be on the main sitting area, and around that will be obviously the public.
It's interesting you mentioned the Pacific leaders. It's sort of like a situation where Fiji has enabled the entire South Pacific to have an opportunity to have an audience with Mr. Modi.
Yes, Edwin, there is a program where there's a meeting with the Pacific Island leaders. The Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, is meeting the Pacific Island leaders, including Fiji. So 14 countries, including Fiji, will be represented, and there will be bilateral discussions, multilateral discussions happening. Agenda is really India's agenda for this meeting, and it also positions us very strongly as the hub of the Pacific. The fact that the meeting is happening in Fiji is again very significant, and We are very fortunate to have the availability of the other Pacific Island countries to represent in this meeting, and we are getting the presidents and the prime ministers of these countries on Wednesday.
The discussions or the bilateral and multilateral agreements, obviously it's a bit too soon to talk about it right now, but generally on the larger scale of things, where can Fiji and India cooperate?
Okay, there are obviously some key areas apart from the other details that will be discussed. But what I can speak of is that is important to all of us is climate change and the environmental impact of this climate change. And as you know, that India is very much surrounded by sea, kilometers of shore. So there is a lot of similarities between the, India and the Pacific Island countries, particularly to the south. And I see that we will be able to get assistance from India in terms of the expertise, how they have preserved. And other is the environmental issues that India is very well versed with. The second one would be renewable energy. As you know, that the whole of Pacific is forking out a lot of funds, a lot of money, a huge budget is required for fuel. India is very good on solar and renewable energy. As there has been some programs, very successful programs that we had with Barefoot College, and we have already agreed for a regional training center on solar to be set up in Nalemba, Lambasa, whereby the Pacific people from the Pacific could be trained. So this is a way of looking at other benefits. The third one that I'd like to talk about would be health and medical issues and pharmaceuticals. I see a lot of Pacific Island people being referred for medical treatment in India, and pharmaceuticals is I see that the price of drug is very reasonable in India, and this fixed price, whether you buy from this outlet or the next outlet, the price is written on the medicine itself. So these are some of the things that could be duplicated over here in terms of price consistency and getting drugs, high quality drugs. As you know, India is one of the largest manufacturer of pharmaceuticals at the moment. And the fourth one that I would like to talk about is agriculture. India is again the largest food producer in the world. So these things, of course, I'm sure that Pacific Island countries, including Fiji, will have things to discuss their own agenda. And I'm looking forward that it will be a very, very healthy, very fruitful meeting.
You've mentioned 4 things at the core of the government, the newly elected government. These are issues that the Bainimarama government talks about over and over again. The fact that this will be on discussion with Mr. Modi, does that say that our development agenda in Fiji is pretty much on par with what's going on around the world?
Yes, very much. I think these are the key areas. I think every country is trying to work on its food production, sustainability, and organic fruits and vegetables. So these are, I think, some of the things which will benefit Fiji, as India is very, very good, very strong on agricultural research. So we need scientific research. Recently, we have signed the MOU with India on agricultural and scientific research, and there is 2 more agreements that we will be signing soon. Other one that I'd like to talk about is the dairy. We import a lot of milk, and India works 70% of the dairy in India is from smallholder dairy farms, which means between 4 to 7 cows. And the concept they have is zero grazing, whereas we look at very large farm to have this. So these mindsets and these new ideas can be very well incorporated in Fiji, whereby we are able to be self-sufficient and not to import the dairy products.
Just lastly, in this segment, when we talk about climate change, Fiji has always been very vocal, very outspoken
Yes.
in international fora, telling the larger developed countries or developing countries that it is their mistake or their actions that's causing problems for us in the Pacific. Does India fall in that basket? Do you expect the prime ministers, both the prime ministers, to talk about how India could maybe mitigate its carbon emissions?
I cannot disclose the details, but I'm sure that will be on agenda because climate change is very important to us, and including all the Pacific Island countries. And around the table, we're talking to a very large nation, and by size, we need to know the carbon emissions in bigger countries. There's a lot of industrial activities that contribute to climate change, and I'm sure that there will be discussions.
All right. On that note, we will take another break. We'll be right back. Good evening. This is For the Record. We're talking about the upcoming visit by the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, on Wednesday. Mr. Karan, before the break, we talked about some of the issues that will be on discussion when the Prime Minister and his delegation arrive. Do you expect on the outskirts of these meetings that some of the other government ministers might want to have side meetings with with some of the members in Mr. Modi's delegation? I'm sure there would be a long wish list for most of our ministers.
Good question, Edwin. The time is really short, a day's visit, and the program is very tight. But in those between those meetings, there are some slots, time slots, and there are other events which are happening. For example, the lunch hosted by the Indian government, and the state dinner, and during the session at the university. There is no such thing as direct interaction. But with the officials, of course, there could be side discussions. They could be seated together, and I'm sure that Fiji's agenda and likewise agenda of these officials coming in could be discussed on a very informal basis.
How much work did it take for your office back in Delhi to make this visit possible?
Well, Edwin, this visit is perhaps one of the biggest that we have hosted, Fiji's hosted, and this week is a very busy week for the Foreign Ministry and the government of Fiji, as there are two visits by Fiji, China, and on Tuesday we are receiving the head of defense from UAE. So it's three visits, and then on top of that we have heads of mission consultation meeting, which begins on Monday. It's a full heavy week. And going back to your question, the work that was required back in my office in New Delhi, such kind of visits require a lot of work, a lot of discussions, a lot of consultations, and the Indian mission here and Fiji's mission in India are virtually the facilitating agents between the two governments. And there has been long hours of work to make this visit happen. There's a lot of details that needed to be taken into consideration. And the fact that this visit has been the longest of the Indian Prime Minister out of India after his election. There were a lot of things that needed to be taken into consideration to make it happen. So in concluding, I could say that there has been enormous amount of work that has happened between the two missions, India's mission here and Fiji's mission in New Delhi.
So much so that even now, before coming in for the show, you had in fact been in a series of meetings all throughout the weekend. You even had briefings with your line minister as well. Work is still going on, it seems.
Yes, absolutely. There are details that still need to be finalized, and meetings are happening simultaneously as the other preparations are happening.
Looking ahead to Wednesday itself, when the Prime Minister arrives, surely the other Pacific leaders or the governments would be liaising with your ministry in terms of what are some of the issues they would like to discuss with Mr. Modi. Are you in a position to say what could be part of the Pacific Leaders meeting?
Usually these agenda and discussions are discussed well in advance and agreed to. So at the moment it will be a little difficult to disclose the details of the discussions, because the final decision is yet to be made on a few of the things that will be discussed.
Going back to the High Commission in New Delhi, what sort of messages have you been receiving? Well, I understand the Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, is at the G20, but in terms of discussions back and forth, what sort of preparations is India making for this visit?
Well, India, the officials have been in discussions with us, both here at the Foreign Office and in New Delhi, and things have been finalized well before. I think I could say comfortably 3 weeks. The main program was agreed to. A few details here and there needed to be tidied up. But in terms of response and support, we had very good support from people wanting to come to Fiji around this time. Interestingly, when the visit became official, there were a lot of investors that wanted to come and be part of the delegation, but it's a one-day visit and it's difficult to have that side meetings on trade as business opportunities. But going back to the first question that you asked, in terms of benefits, trade is also one area, trade and investment, that I see after this visit will put Fiji in a good place. The curiosity that is coming, and then is important. Other thing which is important, that we have the country largest democracy, the Prime Minister is visiting Fiji, and we just had elections. So itself, it is very significant in that regard. India's trade, a lot of, at this time, a lot of international companies are coming into India, and the trade policies are being reviewed, whereby they have invited companies to set up in India. These are multinationals, and multinationals are moving into India. So it's a very vibrant economy that one can talk about. And in India is now also changing its policies on its foreign trade. So it's virtually outgoing. The investors from India are also looking at investing outside of India. So I see that there are already Indian multinationals in Fiji for a number of years, and this visit is going to further strengthen our trade relations. And I talked about tourism in an earlier interview. Indian tourists are one of the largest spenders globally. They've been rated that they're very good spenders. The number of tourists may be low coming to Fiji, but in terms of spending the money, it's pretty high. Now, after this visit, what happened to countries like Germany, New Zealand, where Bollywood movies have been shot, good movies have been shot, this had increased the student numbers. For example, in the film Dawn that was shot in Germany, in Berlin, after this film, the student numbers increased by 25%. So from Indians going outside, and India spends significantly on education. So when we're looking at education, one we could look at is definitely tourism. Education maybe because we don't have that many universities here, but in terms of tourism, after this visit, I'm very optimistic that our tourist numbers will go up.
Right. I'm sure you have a lot of work cut out for you when you get back to India following this visit, but we'll talk more about that in a bit. It's time for another break. Welcome back to For the Record. As you would know, we're talking about the upcoming visit by the Prime Minister of India, Mr. Narendra Modi, and his delegation. With us in studio tonight, our High Commissioner to India, Mr. Yogesh Karan. Mr. Karan, as you mentioned, this is just the beginning of something bigger and better, it seems. From what you're saying, it seems that when you get back to India, this will get the ball rolling for more things to come.
Edwin, as you know, that India is a very large country, 28 states, and 1.2 billion plus people in India. So to market Fiji is not an easy task to do so. But after this visit, because of the publicity that we have got, we will be receiving lots of inquiries about doing business in Fiji, trading with business, visiting Fiji, and so on. So it would be a busy period immediately, because this is what has happened with other countries where the Prime Minister has visited, or the previous Prime Ministers of India have visited. I speak to other diplomats, my colleagues in New Delhi, and it's very clear that such visits do make an impact.
You mentioned earlier that there were investors or business people who wanted to be part of Mr. Modi's delegation, but time constraints didn't allow for it. Do you expect to follow up with these businesses, or do you expect that the interest level may still be there after Mr. Modi's return?
There are two pending meetings that Fiji will be hosting very soon. One is on the second working group on health services, health and medical services, and other one is the joint trade committee meeting. We had planned this meeting in 2012, but because of the floodings in 2012, meeting got cancelled. In that meeting, we were getting a very strong delegation of investors. Now, when this meeting is going to happen, we are planning to bring even bigger delegation of business investors to Fiji.
On a larger scale, Fiji has had a look north policy for a number of years, and it's worked very well for us. Aid from China and India, in this instance, have been pouring in for a number of years. Our relations in the entire Asian region have never been stronger. Mr. Modi is coming on Wednesday. Following that, we will have a visit by the Chinese Premier, Mr. Xi Jinping, who is also coming. Is this the fruits of our labor paying off in terms of our look north policy and how we've been able to maintain relations?
Yes, I certainly agree to that. We have reviewed our foreign policy, and we're going to look at our foreign policies again on Monday and Tuesday. This is looking beyond our boundaries, and as you see, that the result is that we are getting visited by two very large countries. I foresee that the future of Fiji in terms of international relations is going to be very good, because we are looking beyond. We have established more formal diplomatic relations with many countries over the last 5 years, and we will continue to do so. And it's not about the size, I think it's about how you position yourself globally, and I think we are on the right path now.
Would you say we're no longer smaller brother to Australia and New Zealand in this part of the world?
I think no country is big or small in that regard. International relations and diplomacy is very important between countries, irrespective of the size.
So far as the other Pacific nations are concerned, obviously there would also need to be planning and logistics for those leaders coming in. Simultaneously, we've got large delegation from India, both the government delegation, and I understand a large media group as well. Mr. Modi will have his own security, and then we're looking at various Pacific leaders. Obviously, logistics right now must be quite hectic.
Yes, it is. The stakeholders here are working around the clock to make things happen, and so far I think the preparations have been very impressive, and by tomorrow most of the things will be done and cleared, and we'll be ready to host the Prime Minister.
How do we use this as a springboard to take Fiji further? You yourself in India will be going out holding meetings, using this visit as a marketing tool or exposure for us. But when we talk about Fiji as a nation and what we've been doing over the last few years to establish ourselves, how does the Indian Prime Minister's visit become a tool around the world?
Such visits do create a lot of curiosity about a country, and particularly in our case, the tourism. We're expecting the high-end tourists in the country. And on a positive note, there are new resorts, hotels being developed. So we need to fill these rooms, and this is part of the strategy where such leaders do contribute very significantly to the growth of trade and also to tourism.
How significant has our office in India, or the High Commission that you've been running, how significant has it been in maintaining relations with India and being proactive in terms of diplomatic relations?
India is a very large country. Unless you jump up, you won't be seen. So it requires a lot of commitment in that regard. And as I mentioned, that it's 28 states. It's very difficult to cover all those 28 states, but we have honorary consuls in some of the states, and the maximum number that India allows. So with these offices in Mumbai, Chennai and Calcutta, we are able to access to the people that we want, particularly in investors that we're thinking of. But the difficulty is, though, when you talk about investment, they begin to see from the size that India is. They're looking at employing thousands and thousands of workers, and here by that context it's very large. So speaking to the giants, it's very difficult because Fiji may not attract. Then we need to sell them not only Fiji but South Pacific, and South Pacific has got sizable population, so that attracts. And now that we have a new government in place, I'm sure that there are a lot of positives that I see coming forward.
Is it fairly competitive, being given an opportunity or getting recognition from your office in terms of audience with the government? Not necessarily the Prime Minister, but any form of, any arm of government.
It is. I could be corrected, but India has the largest diplomatic missions in the world. The United Nations and other countries are very well represented in India. And the Foreign Office itself is very large. So there's in diplomacy, as you know, diplomacy has changed, and you need to be a lot more aggressive to be seen. Otherwise, you're left out in the race.
All right, with that, we have to take another break. We're just drawing to the end of our show, but stay with us. One more segment coming up. Welcome back to For the Record. We're talking about the upcoming visit by the Indian Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, to Fiji. Mr. Karan, just referring to Wednesday itself, when he gets in, obviously there'll be a lot of hustle bustle in Nandi and in Suva. But for the people at home who want to maybe find out how they can meet Mr. Modi, the event at Albert Park, how much access will Fijians have to Mr. Modi?
Well, that is still being discussed between the security authorities of both the countries, and I won't be able to give any answer right away because it all depends how they assess the security measures.
So far as ceremonies and protocols are concerned, we have a very unique way of welcoming our guests. Do you expect Mr. Modi will have a few bowls of kava?
I'm sure he will. I mean, our traditional welcome is itself very warm, and I'm sure that this will be in his memory forever.
I recall Mr. Modi was one of the first leaders to congratulate Fiji following the elections. Does that tell you that they keep track of what's going on? Do they pay close attention to us back in India?
Yes, very much. I think that's what our role is from both sides, to see what's happening. And our Prime Minister was one of the three, the first ones to congratulate Honorable Modi when he was elected the Prime Minister. In fact, it appeared on the newspaper, one of the top newspapers in New Delhi, and the names of the other two were the President of the United States and President of Russia.
So we got the same mention
We got
as...
the same mention, yes. Yeah.
Well, fair enough. Looking into the future, obviously after this visit, as you said, your work will actually begin, but what are your hopes and ambitions in terms of relations between Fiji and India while you're at our High Commission?
Well, we already have 135-year very friendly relations with India, and historical one as well. And our formal diplomatic relations goes back to 1970. Out of this visit, we're going to further strengthen these relations, our diplomatic relations, our friendly relations with India, and I think the distance between the two countries will be much more closer.
Fair enough. Just on a parting note, what do you think is the one thing that Fijians should take away from this visit? When we see the Prime Minister of the largest democratic nation in the world traveling our streets, what should that tell us?
Well, the country that he has been visiting, and the crowd is in thousands and thousands. For example, his recent visit to the United States, and similarly in Australia. Here, I see that the numbers will be very good, and more than that when we noted during the late Prime Minister's visit. There's a lot of excitement, as you see, people wanting to know about the program. And there's opportunity for on two occasions. One is at the Albert Park, and secondly at the Fiji National University. And at the university is by invitations, but there is some arrangements made for the public outside. So I think people are looking forward to this visit of the Prime Minister, and Fiji is very much prepared by now, and by Wednesday I think we'll be all done, and we look forward to receiving him.
While I have you here, Mr. Karan, you have accreditations to other nations apart from India, one being Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Nepal, Afghanistan even, and Maldives. Obviously, there's a lot of work going on these fronts as well. We've had working relations with Sri Lanka for a number of years now. A lot of their judges and magistrates are serving in the judiciary in Fiji, so there is some cooperation going on there. What are you working on right now?
Right away, we are working on some MOUs with Sri Lanka on double tax agreement, and MOU on coconut industry, and also on education. I had made a request to the Sri Lankan government for scholarships for our nationals, and I'm very happy to say that this has been accepted, and formally we have been informed that the President's scholarship has been awarded to Fiji nationals. I'm not very certain about how many seats, but the minimum I had requested was 5. And in terms of priority, I had asked for medicine and engineering were the two scholarships, 2 areas of scholarship that I had asked for. And thirdly, they have also accepted Fiji for diplomatic training. One of our staff from Foreign Office will be attending the program very soon in Colombo. And similarly with Bangladesh, Fiji has been included in the list of scholarships. We've been formally informed last month on Fiji's inclusion. This is again when I presented my credentials, I had requested for Fiji's inclusion, and I'm glad that it was positively taken. We have a MOU on agriculture already with Bangladesh, and they're wanting to do a pilot project on in agriculture in one of the fields that was chosen. Once that is signed, in fact both countries are ready, it's just we are waiting for visit either one of the ministers to Fiji or our agricultural minister visiting in that part of the region where this MOU could be signed, either in Delhi or in Dhaka.
We've signed quite a few MOUs with a number of countries over the years, and Fiji has established diplomatic relations with more countries in the last few years than we have ever before since independence. So this is us reaching out to the world. How do you see us being received in places where a number of larger nations don't exist or don't have formal recognition or diplomatic relations?
I think there has been no issues. We have done very well in that regard. There hasn't been any such resistance that formal diplomatic relations cannot be established. For example, we're working now with Mauritius. We're trying to establish a formal diplomatic relation with Mauritius. I've had discussions with the High Commissioner, and our permanent representative in United Nations has been working with his counterpart there. So soon we'll establish the relation, and those that where we have formal diplomatic relations, we're trying our ambassadors and High Commissioners to be concurrently accredited to these countries, obviously for better discussions and collaborations with these countries.
Mr. Karan, thank you very much for coming on our show tonight, and from us, the best of luck with the Prime Minister's visit and all the preparations.
Thank you, Edwin. Thank you for inviting me, and we'd also like to invite you that you be part of the delegation from the Fiji side covering the events so that the rest of the world can see.
Surely, surely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And that was the show tonight. Remember, Wednesday, the Prime Minister of India, Mr. Narendra Modi, will be in Fiji for a series of meetings and public events. We'd be lucky to have an opportunity to interview him on our show, but given his schedule, I don't think that'll be possible. We will be bringing you news updates throughout the week and also on Wednesday. But for now, from our show tonight, that's it. We will see you next Sunday. Remember, for questions or comments, you can email us for the record at fpc.com.fj. That's it for tonight. Good evening.